Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Film Society of Lincoln Center, Roy Furman.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the Film Society of Lincoln Center's gala tribute to that supreme movie artist, Miss Bette Davis. Our annual tributes to major film artists began in 1972 with the historic return of Charlie Chaplin to the United States. Since then, these programs have been among our most important, along with the New York Film Festival, New Directors, New Films, and the publication of Film Comment magazine, which this month features a marvelous cover story on Miss Davis. We are especially grateful to Continental Insurance and its chairman, Jake Mascott, for a 5-year commitment to underwrite our tributes, enabling us to make film history tonight by honoring this legendary actress. Throughout a career in film spanning nearly 6 decades, Miss Davis's fearless individuality and unique talent have set a standard unmatched by any of her peers. All by herself, she has defined what it is to be an actress for the screen. She had to do it because from the very beginning, the usual limitations did not apply to her. When Miss Davis first came to Hollywood, the powers that were, frankly, didn't know what to do with this curious young actress from the New York stage. Aspiring movie stars were supposed to come in types, the cute type, the glamorous type. Naively, obstinately, Miss Davis thought the job of an actress was to act, to use her brains and instinct and experience to play the widest possible spectrum of roles and give each the indelible stamp of her personality. That was her mission, and Miss Davis has been triumphantly pursuing it ever since. Along the way, she managed to break every rule. Leading ladies did not risk playing repellent gutter snipes like Mildred in A Human Bondage, but Miss Davis did, and the result was the first in her string of legendary performances. From then on, she kept Hollywood on its collective toes and audiences everywhere on the edge of their seats. You never knew what Bette Davis would dare to tackle next. The one sure thing was that it was bound to be fascinating. No part has been beyond her range. The Bette Davis Portrait Gallery encompasses plantation belles and New England spinsters, pistol-wielding adulteresses and blue-stocking idealists, and Baby Jane and Elizabeth the Queen. Miss Davis's infinite variety has been her legacy to us all. This program of excerpts tonight, selected by Wendy Keyes, the Film Society's executive producer of programming, is our way of honoring the great work she has already given us with the fervent hope of still more to come. It is bound to be a thrilling night, beginning with an excerpt from her first movie, as we salute the enormous career span of one of the great stars in the history of film, the winner of 10 Academy Award nominations, 2 Oscars, 2 Emmys, and of course, the Sarah Siddons Award, Bette Davis. That beautiful young woman up there with Miss Davis made her film debut in Pocketful of Miracles. Since that first appearance, she has distinguished herself as both a superb musical entertainer and an accomplished dramatic actress. I am delighted to introduce to you now Miss Ann-Margret.
Thank you very much. I thank you very much. It is so moving for me to be here tonight because Miss Davis was a very special part of my career. When I was 18 years old, Mr. Frank Capra chose me to play Miss Davis's daughter in Pocketful of Miracles. and it was my very first film. Now, I was really new to show business, and I had never done any dramatic acting before. I think maybe I had done one school play in the 7th grade, and that was it. And of course, I knew nothing about the technical side of movie making. I didn't know the difference between a long shot, a medium shot, a close-up. I was just really happy to know my lines, really happy. And there I was, about to do most of my scenes with Miss Bette Davis. So you can imagine how nervous I was. I remember one of the very first scenes that we did together. We had been doing this scene 4 or 5 times, and all of a sudden, Miss Davis said, stop. Wait, get Ann-Margret's hairdresser and makeup man. There's something not quite right. So she came over to me, and she said, now, Ann-Margret, this is your close-up, and you should look the very best that you possibly can. Okay? Okay. She waited for them to finish their work. She took one final look, and she said, all right, now we can shoot. I will never, ever forget that. The fact that she was so concerned about how I looked in my close-up, it was just extraordinary. I will never, ever forget that. And I remember there was this other scene where I was really nervous, and it was my character's arrival on this big ocean liner to New York, and it was an enormous set. And Miss Davis was sitting between takes thinking about the scene, and in the story, it was our big moment together. It was the reunion several years apart. And so she said to me, you know, this is really uncanny. This reminds me of me and my mother and the way I felt towards her, which made me feel so comfortable that maybe I was doing my part right and honestly for her to feel that way. But she was like that during the entire filming. She was so kind and so caring, and I'll just never forget that, ever. It was just the most wonderful beginning that I could ever imagine, and I thank you for that. Now, all of us are here tonight to honor Miss Davis as a great and irreplaceable actress, but also, she will always have a special place in my heart, and I thank you. God bless you. The woman I worked with is a true lady and an extraordinary professional. But it took more than that to make her the unique star that she is. Nobody has matched that Bette Davis blend of fierce intelligence and incredible energy. There's nothing like watching her burst into a scene with those eyes blazing, ready to stand up for herself or cut some lesser mortal down to size. So, fasten your seatbelts and get ready for the sound and the fury, which is Miss Bette Davis. It is my great pleasure to introduce a man who indeed knows all about Bette, the Oscar-winning writer and director of All About Eve, Mr. Joseph L. Mankiewicz.
Thank you. That cut in that last clip seemed a bit sharp about all playwrights are dead. Because as I remember it, and I remember this film vaguely, there is a line that he says, which sums up the scene, which is it's time that the piano learns it has not written the concerto. Which we're having a great deal of. these days. There is probably no more frustrated demand that can be put upon a garrulous, me, aged and aging writer-director than to supply briefly, very briefly, please, no more than 2.5 pages at the most, anecdotes about what it was like writing a screenplay and directing Bette Davis in it. I'm afraid that I shall have to skip most of what most of you have heard over and over again, even by Bette Davis. Only joking. No, even though Bette and I had been out there for roughly 20 years each, we'd never met. Her rough years had been endured almost exclusively as an indentured player to the Duchy of Warner Brothers, and they were like duchies, each major studio. While I had been exclusively indentured to first the Duchy of Paramount, where I enjoyed working with Mr. Fields a great deal, which trained me, and then they traded me in 1933 to the Grand Duchy of MGM, with probably a utility writer to be named later, because they were gradually approaching that sort of organization. But by 1949, both Bette and I had worked and achieved enough freedom to meet at Fox. Our actual meeting took place at the studio with Edith Head. She was quite simply the best designer there was. And she deserves a bit of a hand. Edith had designed for the character in the play or the screenplay, not necessarily the actress who played the part. And that is very important for the men who write the screenplays and who try to direct them, that the exterior actress does not overcome the interior truth of what she's playing. And when Joan Crawford used to wear $800, there's the thief, $800 dresses when she played a shop girl. And I laughed at that too. Until it was explained to me by a shop girl who said to me, "You're a very silly man. Joan Crawford, we love her because she dresses the way we dream about. And when I get home and sink my feet in a tub of hot water, I don't want to think about myself behind that counter again, that same smelly dress. Oh no, I want to be wearing what Joan Crawford wears." And we love her for that. So one never knows, except that Edith Head was the best. Now, I received warnings from members of both guilds the moment this thing was announced, this unholy alliance of Bette Davis and Joe Mankiewicz. The writers and the directors were in unanimous agreement. To a man, they predicted a Davis-Mankiewicz head-on collision that could only result in disaster. From the writers, look, she's the world's champion, believe me. She will kill you. She'll show up on the set with the paper and the pencils, and I remember dear old Eddie Goulding, now on the director's side, saying, "Dear boy, have you gone mad? You have written a screenplay. She will come to the stage with long yellow paper and pencils. She will rewrite, and then she, not you, will direct." He said, "Joe, I'm a 4-time loser." He said, "Mark my words." Well, I hadn't been directing my screenplays very much. I've been learning a lot, directing other men's screenplays and brushing them up a little. And so I did call the only other four-time loser, make that three-time enormous winner, one-time plain winner, as director of Bette Davis, Willie Wyler. Willie Wyler, we used to meet fairly regularly on Sundays at his house, and he would beat me regularly at gin rummy, his rules. Now, Willie was a very tough guy, but Willie read my screenplay and liked it enormously. And Willie said, look, you have no problems with her. It'll be a love match. Because she loves to work and you like to work. And you know what you're going to do, and she knows what you're going to do, what she's going to do, and it's going to be a happy, wonderful time. And I said, Willie, I've heard that some of your times with her haven't been all that wonderful. And he said, I suppose, over the years, he said, I've occasionally had real-life situations between us, and they get mixed up with the screenplay. But that has nothing to do with the fact that she's a great actress. She's an exciting and showy character like you have written. Fits her in every way. You'll get along beautiful. I'll see you on Sunday. And I replied, we leave for San Francisco on Friday. We start shooting at the Current Theater in San Francisco on Monday. I can't make you a gin rummy game on Sunday, but I'll just send my check. Please, Willie, don't beat me too badly. I won't even be brief about what happened. When we all reported for work that very first day in San Francisco, on the stage of the Current Theater, Miss Davis arrived on stage, wardrobe and makeup ready to go, at 8:30 a.m., which was a call, well before she'd been called. There's no way I can generate any suspense about what happened from then on. I'm not going to try. Bette was letter perfect, of course. She was syllable perfect. It was a cast without fights. Oh, little spinny things happen now and then, but nothing important. Except that the leading lady and the leading man did get married after the film was over, but that's a different story in a different film. I suppose over the years I've been luckier than most directors in having had responsible actors to work with, but never more fortunate, really, than in All About Eve. It was a rare treat, believe me, even at a time when the inarticulate had not yet replaced the coherent. May all those good films rest in peace. Instead of the worst, of course, what eventuated was the very best, another turn of events not uncommon in the theatrical experience of old. Working with Bette Davis it goes without saying. From the very first day to regrettably our last, an experience as happy and rewarding as any I have ever known. I've had a lot of experiences, and a lot of them very happy, but none that just moved inevitably to a perfect ending, to a perfect job of working together in the theater. And working with Bette Davis goes without saying from the very first day to the last. Because barring grand opera, I can't think of anything beyond her range. She's intelligent, instinctive, vital, sensitive, and above all, a superbly equipped professional actress who does her job responsibly and honestly. To this day, I regret deeply that I hadn't worked with her before Eve, and that I haven't since. By 1949, Bette and I had achieved enough freedom Amelia Fox, and I seem to have been given 2 pages. They're exactly alike. As usual, someone who's messing about with my script. Janek, I thought, was long gone. They have a way of never really, no. But I've said really as much as I can bring myself to say without really repeating myself. As Mr. Goldwyn might put it, repeating myself over and over. This film, I've heard your response to snippets of it, and this was done, 1950, which is almost 40 years ago. I'm very proud of the fact that I was able to make a film at that time, a film that simply could not be financed today. Nobody would put up the money for All About Eve. Just think of all the things that are not in it that you have to have today. So I'm very pleased at the reception of those little snippets. I've never heard a reaction to any line of mine. I suppose anybody else's really. Then the first line about fastening your seatbelt, I think that you can loosen them now because you're in for a lot more happy events. And I'm going to find my missing page. Thank you very much. This is not the missing scroll, but a great pleasure for me, again, because exactly 50 years ago, everything seems to have happened 50 years ago, Bette Davis did a movie called Dark Victory, and in it with her was a beautiful young girl from Ireland, the Abbey Players, making her first Hollywood picture. They've been very good friends ever since. Of course, they've never, what is the word here? They've never competed, which actresses sometimes do for parts, actually. Still, you never can tell. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Miss Geraldine Fitzgerald.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. It's a great joy to be here tonight and to witness the reception that great, great actress and human being received tonight. It was just wonderful to be here and hear that. Joe was saying that I came from Ireland to New York. It was in 1938, and I joined the Mercury Theatre. It was the theatre started by Orson Welles and John Houseman. And from there, I went to Hollywood, where I had been invited to play in a picture with Bette Davis. Well, of course, I'd seen her work, and I was absolutely thrilled. But some of my friends in the theater here in New York made me rather alarmed. because they said, oh, she is a wonderful actress, there's no doubt about that. But she'll make sure that you don't get your face on the screen, you know that, don't you? I said, what do you mean? And they said, oh, yes, yes, yes. They said, you just got to be very, very careful, because in a scene, they said, she may pretend that her character, you know, is fond of you, you know, and, you know, take you by the shoulder or, you know, take you by the arm. But the point of that will be that once in the scene, she'll be able to turn you round. So the camera can only see your ear. So I said, well, what'll I do? And they said, well, if the set that you're working in has a good lot of furniture in it, try holding on to some of it. So when I got there for the first 2 or 3 days of the shooting, I tried to do that. And then I found that she was always, you know, being sure that I was properly lit, and the very contrary was turning me so that my face would be in the camera. She was nothing but cooperative and wonderfully kind and thoughtful. And so I stopped doing that. And afterwards she said she was very glad, because she was afraid from what was happening the first couple of days that they'd got from New York someone who was raving mad. So we became great friends and stayed that way. And I remember one time when I was living in New York, having left Hollywood, and she was visiting there for some reason, and we both had to go to Hollywood at that time because we had engagements there. And so we thought it would be a good idea if we went on the train. And that would give us 3 days, you know, when we could catch up with our lives and what we were doing and what we wanted to do and who we were seeing and all the rest. So we did that. We got on the train. And, of course, we'd both forgotten that what would happen when she appeared with a public which was kind of enclosed. I mean, we couldn't go to the dining room because everybody stopped eating and listened to every word that she was saying. So then we had to have meals in our drawing room. But then when we got to the stations on the way of the 3-day journey, we wanted to get out and have a constitutional. So we really had to do that. And then everybody got off the train and followed us up and down the platform, waiting to hear what Bette Davis had to say about all the things we were discussing. Now, I must stop at this point and say that it's not difficult to hear what Bette Davis has to say. Because she is a true star. I mean, Warner Brothers never made Bette a star. Bette was a star herself from the very beginning. Yes, she was. And one of the marks of a great star, in my memories, are that they don't modulate their voice. I mean, they talk at the same level if you're talking to them in their sitting room or if you are in a church, let's say. They just don't. And nobody wants them to. And so whatever we had to be saying to each other, when we stopped, the crowd would always stop too and make a kind of circle and listen. And I think they enjoyed it very much. But on the trip, we got to Albuquerque, where there's a long stop. It's about 20 minutes or more. And our constitutional constantly, you know, was we're taking a long constitutional. And so we got a bit deeper into our conversations than we had been doing. And we started to talk about the various men on the Warner lot, you know, Garfield, Cagney, Bogart, and, you know, to say if we thought they were attractive or not or whatever. And finally, and the crowd was fascinated, naturally. And finally we got, we were walking along, and finally Bette stopped, and of course everybody stopped too, and she said, Fitzy, which was her name for me, Fitzy, what did you think of George Brent? And I said, I didn't. My voice can be modulated. I said, what do you mean? What did I think of George? How do you mean? You mean as an actor? She said, no, Fitzy, I don't mean as an actor. I mean as a lover. I mean a romance. I mean an affair. And the crowd was so still. And I said, but Betty, I never had an affair with George Brent. And she said, you didn't? Fitzy, you're the only one on the lot. Now, I want you to know, I checked that story out with Betty. She said, tell it, Fitzy. So I have, because I think it's great. And there's something else I want to say. There is a theory that great artists whose work is tangible and lasting, I mean like sculptors, painters, and motion picture actors, that the greatness of their artistry can be matched by the way the picture, the sculpture, the motion picture seems to have a life of its own. You know, it seems to grow more truthful as time passes. Now, I don't know quite how much there is to that theory, but I believe in it, and I believe in it because of Bette Davis. Because every time I go and see a retrospective of her work, I say to myself, my gosh, how she's got better and better in that film. And with that, I leave you with great gratitude for seeing my friend here tonight. Thank you. I think it's fair to say that Betty has had few real peers, male or female, in her long movie career. But the actor we saw just now, in that last excerpt with her, is undoubtedly one of that small group. And he is one that we all love, I know, and one for whom I'm going to lift up the mic as high as it'll go. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. James Stewart.
You know, I've worked with some pretty wonderful actresses over the years, but I have to tell you that acting with Bette Davis was something very special, a wonderful experience. By the time we finally got a chance to do something together, I'm sure some people were wondering what took us so long. Well, that's a good question, but the reason is pretty simple. When I got out to Hollywood, I was under contract to MGM. And Bette had been here for a couple of years before, and she was at Warner Brothers. And in those days, they kept you so busy that you hardly had time to say hello to people. Anyhow, a lot more years went by, and then one day I got a call from the director, George Schaefer. And he asked me if I was interested in playing opposite Bette Davis in a TV movie called Right of Way. Well, right away, I jumped at the chance, and from the first day, it felt just great to be there with Bette on the set and watch the way this wonderful actress works. One of the things that made it very special was that in our scenes together, we hardly did any rehearsing at all. Bette would look over at me and say, let's just try it. And that was the way our scenes were together. And that's the way we do. I'd never really experienced this before, but it was a very exciting way to work because Bette was always so beautifully prepared. She had an uncanny sense of who her character was and worked out how this woman she was playing would progress from scene to scene. It's this unique ability she had through her long and remarkable career. The whole thing, the right-of-way picture that we did, the whole thing went so smoothly, thanks to Bette. And everyone on the picture, George and all the members of the crew, just adored her. And when we were finished, she put together this wonderful party for us, all by herself. I just consider myself very fortunate to have worked with this woman I love and admire. And it means a lot to me to be here tonight. Thank you, Bette.
Thank you very, very, very much. It's beautiful, heavy, but beautiful. Oh, would you take that for me? What a dump! Hello. My priority for thank yous for this overwhelmingly gala evening in my honor is to you who, in some cases, have traveled far to appear on stage to extol me with praise for my work. Oh, I really do. Thank you so very much. And you are so beautiful, all of you. And you're all people in the industry who have added so to my career. Jimmy, Fitzy, Mankiewicz, everybody to my career. And Ann-Margret, I am glad now that I was so nice to you since your appearance. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, there is an old saying, you have to be very careful on your way up what you do. You never know what people will say on your way down. Standing here, looking out at a veritable sea of faces, here to honor my work through the many years, well, it makes me very proud. For the months and months of work by the Film Society of Lincoln Center, headed by Joanna Ned and Wendy Keys. Wendy Keys has been in charge of assembling the fabulous film clips we have just seen. I have hoped that one day someone would, on one of my award evenings, show not only Are you laughing? You think I'm bragging? I have hoped that one day someone would, on one of these evenings, show not only clips from my most well-known films, but would include scenes from my earliest films. This Wendy has done. The film clips tonight have shown us the long, long road before audiences discover you, and if you are fortunate, approve of your work. Oh, Wendy, my deep gratitude and great praise. And great praise for the brilliant choices you've made. My thanks galore to all of you for being here tonight. Many of you have been told, I have been told, that not just a few of you have come from other countries and other states to be here this evening. And so, merci mille fois. Muchas gracias. And a good, plain, old American thanks. I'd love to kiss you, but I just washed my hair. Nice.
For HBO Entertainment News, the stars were shining Monday night at the Film Society of Lincoln Center's tribute to Bette Davis, the quintessential Hollywood star who's been an inspiration to the world for more than 5 decades. Excerpts were shown from her best works, and those who've worked with her had this to say.
She's kept movie audiences excited and warm and giving, and for more years than I better mention.
To date, the legendary actress has accumulated a number of awards, including 10 Academy nominations, plus 2 Oscars.
There have been over 90 movie openings in the career of Bette Davis, and last night in New York, the Lincoln Center Film Society honored her for a lifetime of achievement. Jimmy Stewart, Ann-Margret, and Geraldine Fitzgerald were among almost 3,000 friends and fans at Lincoln Center last night to honor the movie's grande dame, Bette Davis.
I just consider myself very fortunate to have worked with this woman I love and admire. I suppose the first thing is she's one of the finest actors that has ever been. And the second thing is that she's kept movie audiences excited and warm and giving, and for more years than I better mention.
Ann-Margret made her film debut with Davis in A Pocket Full of Miracles.
And she was extraordinary to me. She was so kind and caring. That's why I want to honor her tonight.
And the star of the evening accepted the honor as only Bette Davis can.
I'd love to kiss you, but I just washed my hair.
Miss Davis has confessed that when she saw her very first screen test, she ran screaming from the projection room. She was all set to become the world's best secretary if Hollywood didn't work out. Well, now we can say, don't worry, Miss Davis, worked out just great.